Hey, so I just noticed that patch notes have gone up for the new patch coming out for chill season. So I'm going to go over those and just react to them live. This is the first that I am seeing majority of this stuff. Obviously, some of this information has been shared before, so a lot of it's not going to be especially new. But let's see what's in here. So it's going out November 30th, 4 p.m. Pacific. So I believe they said that it would release on December 1st. So this might be a situation where they put the data out and you can download it like a little bit ahead of time, but then it doesn't go live until later. So it gives you time to download it, and then as soon as the date ticks over, it's ready to go. Typically, things are released on like a Japanese schedule. Like usually it's like 9 a.m. or something Japan time that stuff ships out. So that ends up being like 5 or 6 p.m. depending on where you're at in the United States, like somewhere around there. The day before, since they're ahead of us. So I think that checks out, that they're just like getting it shipped on the 30th and then maybe it goes into effect on the 1st. Not completely clear on how that's going to work. And it won't actually matter to me because I'll be out of town, and so I won't be able to try it out until I'm a little bit later than that anyway. So I'm not going to worry too much about it. You guys can try and figure that out on your own. It's going to have a new catalog, so new gear titles, splash tags, decorations, all good stuff. I love my titles. I want to get some new titles. New items to store product lineups, which is good. Is that all like across like the different kinds of gear and stuff? So that's like maybe like 15 different shirts and shoes and stuff each. That doesn't seem like an awful lot. I've already got most of the inventory bought out and a lot of it upgraded. So, I mean, that's not a ton of stuff, but it'll be nice to have new things, and I'm sure those take a little while to design through the art teams and stuff. So not hurting too much for not having a ton of stuff there, but that's nice. The new stages, we knew about both of these. These had already been announced. Brinewater Springs, we got a view of it in the most recent trailer. And then Flounder Heights, we got the best view of it in the most recent trailer, but that had also been announced ahead of time. There was a picture of it that teased it earlier. Flounder Heights is looking really good. It's looking pretty much the same as it was in Splatoon 1 with not that many changes. And that would already make it like one of the best stages in the game. So looking forward to that one. Brinewater Springs, I just don't feel like I've seen enough of it personally to know whether I like it or not. We'll have to see when it comes out. We'll go and do some recon when we get the opportunity. And then Marooner's Bay, we already knew about. That's a Splatoon 2 map, so that's something that people already have opinions on. Not going to dwell too long on that. 3 new main weapon types, which we knew. 10 new existing sets of weapons, which we also knew. We knew about the Table Turf battle cards. Those have all been announced on Twitter. Ability to look at the content of your catalog has been added, so you can check your catalogs. So that's a nice little touch, so you can see what's coming up on them, I guess. Changes to multiplayer. Okay, so these are the buffs and nerfs, and these I have not known about. So main weapons. Tri-stringer. Size of terrain inked by falling spray has been increased. Okay, painting buff. A number of spray droplets generated while firing a distantly aimed shot has been increased. That, I think, is really good. So on Tri-stringer, when you fire a full charge shot, it doesn't paint a lot. Like I was complaining about this when let's get rid of that and let's get rid of those. I was complaining about that when the game had first come out, that like, why does the Tri-stringer not paint any at all in between you and where you're looking when you fire a charged shot? So like, look at this. This is full charge. Just like no paint here. So I think this is a really cool way to buff this. It already paints decently well if you just use this sort of thing carefully. Or if you need to move somewhere, you can do this double tap thing. But I still don't think it's like some massive painting weapon or anything like that, and a painting buff can't possibly hurt it. It's not like a super overpowered weapon right now, So buffing it isn't a bad plan at all. I kind of like this idea just on paper. Obviously, we'll have to see how it plays out and exactly how much they buff it, but I think that's good. Splatana Wiper. This one definitely needs some buffs. Width of the ink launched by horizontal slashes has been increased, so it's a painting buff. Size of terrain inked by falling spray has been increased. Okay, so they got painting buff too. Easier to connect ink in an uninterrupted straight line. Okay. So that'll improve its mobility, which can't possibly hurt it. I mean, it was already pretty fast and strafed pretty well, but the fact that it's going to be able to paint for itself and then swim through that ink better is going to be helpful to it. I still think it needs a little bit more than that. I still think it needs like a DPS buff or something, but at least this is something that it can work with, and I'm sure people are going to be trying it out just to see how much of an impact that has. 27% is a pretty substantial painting buff, though. Like, that's the size of the painting buff that the 52 gal got, that took it from not really being considered that much to all of a sudden being really strong. Problem is, the K-gal in Splatoon 2 was painting for Booyah Bombs, and the Splatana Wiper is painting for hammers. So I don't think that's a huge change for it. I don't think that's going to like make it suddenly skyrocket in competitive use. But still nice for the Wiper players. They need some love out there. Angle Shooter, hopefully getting a buff as well. Initial velocity is about 20% faster. Okay, faster projectile speed. I don't think the projectile speed was really the problem with it at first. It was already pretty fast. Flight range has been extended. If they like 5x this, then that's going to be a lot better. I think it needs more than this to be used at all. So it's a start, and like Nintendo has had this policy with their buffs and nerfs, which I can begrudgingly agree with, which is they're going to be very conservative with their buffs and nerfs and just kind of layer them little by little until they hit some critical point and maybe need to back off, or the game has changed around them too much and they need to readjust. But they're not going to like just suddenly break something by mistake. They're going to, if anything, be a little bit more conservative. Obviously, balance is going to shift around it, but this isn't going to like make the angle shooter suddenly broken or anything like that. And I respect that, despite the fact that the angle shooter does need more than this, I think. Okay. Special weapons have been changed. Zipcaster. Ink consumption when using a main weapon while the Zipcaster is active has been decreased by about 2/3. That is an indirect duration buff, and that is exactly the direction that people have been saying that the Zipcaster needs to be taken. So ink consumption is something that impacts how long you're in this special. Like, the Zipcaster's timer drains as you use more ink. So if this has to be something that's making it so that you can stay in the Zipcaster longer, because using your main weapon isn't going to drain it by as much. And that is a buff that is very needed, and I'm very excited to see what people are able to do with this. Maybe it's too much, maybe it's too little. We'll have to see. But that is exactly what everyone's been saying it needs, and so I'm super happy to see that they have noticed that on the Nintendo dev team and taken that exact approach to buffing it. Okay, Ink Vac. Damage of the return shot has been increased by 100. This change is intended to increase damage done. This is cool. We weren't getting these kinds of notes before. This is like an annotation telling us what this change is meant to do. Intended to increase the damage done to Big Bubbler and Rainmaker shields and allow players to defeat opponents' armor due to Squid Surge or roll. Okay, so I don't know a lot of people that were actually deliberately trying to Squid roll or Squid Surge through Ink Vac shots. The projectile speed is slow enough on that thing that a lot of the time the goal is just dodge it and like don't get hit by it in the first place. But the extra damage to Rainmaker shield can't hurt. Big Bubbler, man, that would have been a much more relevant impact that it could have a little bit earlier in the metagame when Big Bubbler was still a big part of tower control and splat zones. But it's seeming right now that everyone's just shredding the Big Bubbler really fast at top level. And so I don't think that that's as big of a buff to the Ink Vac, but this is one of those things that Nintendo likes to do sometimes, where they will just take this special and not really address what's especially weak about it, but try to give it some other niche use case where, like, for example, Splashdown was given a buff against Booyah Bomb armor, which is kind of helpful sometimes, maybe. It didn't actually one-shot the player in the Booyah Bomb armor, so it still needed follow-up from its team. And at that point, you might as well just use your main weapon and be a little more mobile instead of having a Booyah Bomb drop at your feet and kill you. But anyway, like, I don't think this fixes Ink Vac. I don't think this is going to change anyone's estimation of Ink Vac that much right now. It still has some major glaring flaws in it that aren't quite offset enough by its strengths. So I don't think we're going to be seeing a lot more of that in competitive play just yet, but we'll see. Reef Slider, damage from the rush attack and from being caught up in the explosion has been increased. Okay. And again, this is for improving damage to Big Bubbler and Rainmaker shields. Does anybody use Reef Slider to try and pop Rainmaker shield? Like, because the danger there is that you accidentally just ram yourself into the shield and do damage to yourself. Unless maybe your invincibility carries all the way through. I don't know. I haven't actually messed with that interaction, so being someone who doesn't play Reef Slider that much, that's something that I would have to go and double check to see. I mean, it was already kind of a counter to Big Bubbler in that you could just use the Reef Slider to get into the shield and then explode it from inside the shield to clear it out, and also be doing damage to the shield generator in the meantime. I don't see people trying to use Reef Slider on the outside of the Big Bubbler, but if this increases its damage to the inside of it, then that's kind of cool, I guess. But the big weaknesses with Reef Slider are its vulnerability after being used, and that also is not going addressed here either. Tentamissiles, after launch is confirmed, the special gauge will now slowly decrease, and the gauge will not be able... Whoa, that's huge. That's huge. This has been one of the biggest benefits of using Tentamissiles since they got buffed enough in Splatoon 2 to be useful. One of the big reasons that missiles are so obnoxious is that you fire them and you can immediately be farming for missiles again after you've launched them. Like, even before they hit the ground, you're getting more special charge again to get more Tentamissiles. But now it does the same thing it did with Inkstorm, where the special gauge is going to slowly decrease and not be able to charge again until it was completely drained, until the missiles land. So this drastically decreases the amount of missile output you can get. Like, it takes maybe 5-6 seconds for the missiles to actually find their targets and hit the ground. And if you can't charge special during that time, that's like half of your special gauge that you could, in theory, have gotten already by the time the missiles have landed. So this is going to be drastically decrease Tentamissile output for all Tentamissile's weapons going forward. That's a huge nerf to those. And that's pretty cool. We'll see if this impacts their use in competitive play. Because right now, like, Flingza is a massive, massive mainstay of the competitive landscape for its ability to output missiles and also have an impact as a midline fighter when need be. And it's also a big counter to E-Leader that's keeping E-Leader down in the meta right now. And with this nerf, I feel like E-Leader is going to be a lot more playable again. This is going to have really wide-reaching implications because of just how big a part of the game missiles are. And it's kind of hard to predict exactly where this takes us, but I feel like this does have a significant impact on the metagame. So that is really interesting. That's possibly the biggest update that is at least news to me so far. Possibly the biggest thing of the patch. Okay, no changes to Crab Tank, though. That's crazy. Crab Tank, people are running double Crab Tank right now. People are running double Splash because Splash farms Crab Tank, and having 2 Crab Tanks is so powerful. And they're not touching Crab Tank. That's insane. And that's across the board too. That's US, that's Japan. So, wow. All right. US, I should say NA. We got a bunch of Canadians and Mexican players and stuff over here. But, wow. Okay. Points for special. So this is a way to kind of slightly tweak weapon balance. Aerospray MG 190, cool. It gets Reef Slider a little bit faster. That is not a spammable special. That's not a very useful support special. I don't think that doesn't change much about the Aerospray at all. NZAP 85 gets Tacticooler faster. Again, the problem here is the impact that the special is having, not how fast you can get it. Pro, this is a significant buff just because this gets Crab Tank. But I don't think that's enough to make it more valuable than like a Splash right now as a Crab Tank user. I don't think this changes the state of the game. Jet Squelcher gets Ink Vac. That's, again, not a super impactful special for it. H3, Tacticooler, not really huge. And they're actually nerfing the E-Liter in its special output. Its special output is really not the thing that makes it that powerful, but it is a little bit annoying. And so indirectly nerfing the E-Liter a little bit, not too bad. That's a decent plan. Terrain, ooh, they changed Undertow in Turf War. Deleted part of the terrain on the left-hand side when looking from the player start areas. Added ramps to allow for invading opponent areas. This is a change. This is a trend that I want to see continue. I want more ways into spawn and more ways out of spawn for basically every map. We really, really need those on like Scorch Gorge. Like ramming everyone through that one choke point is awful. And that is what's actually really going to decrease the impact that the E-Liter is having on the game. Is if you just give people flank routes. For heaven's sake, please let us flank. But this is only on Turf War, and it's only on one map. So that's literally a non-impact on competitive play. Even if we were to run a Turf War rule set, I don't know if they would put Undertow on that map list. So not a huge change right now, but the fact that they're thinking about this sort of thing, I think, is good. We want them to move in that direction as much as we can. Sound effect when hitting an opponent with a Charger's non-piercing shot is now easier to hear. Okay, that's a nice little quality of life thing. They're improving sound effect when they roll on the ground. Okay. So this way, there's going to be a little bit more warning when you hear those bombs. Direct hit sound effects for when an angle shooter hits an opponent and when it hits another physical object are now different. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, it's not. Wait, when it hits an opponent and another physical object. Oh, maybe like if it's hitting like the Rainmaker shield, because when it bounces off a wall, it doesn't sound the same. It's like a little whiz kind of sound, I think. But okay. Direct hit sound effect is now easier to hear from a distance. Yeah, because it's very muffled and muted when that happens. And basically all you hear is like the sort of point sensor jingle. So I guess that makes some sense. This is not like a balance change at all. This is just like quality of life stuff. I'm pulling up the game right now just so we can see what what they might be like aiming for here. Okay, so here's what angle shooter sounds like when it hits a target. Here's what it sounds like when it hits a wall. That's more just like a whiz sound. But I bet what they're talking about is like if it hits the Rainmaker shield or something, it sounds like it hit a player, and that maybe that was confusing some people. And that's valid. That makes sense. Direct hit sound. Well, wielding Trizuka is now harder for allies to hear and easier for opponents to hear. That's actually huge. Because this is something that people would complain about with this special, that like there's just no warning. All of a sudden you just get hit by the shot and there was no way to know that it was coming. This is something that they do really well in like Overwatch, where they make it so that your opponent's ultimates are very easy to hear, and there's a lot of sound design that goes into that, so that you have warning, just maybe not enough time to react because the ultimate is coming out. But you know what's happening because of that sound design. And I think that was something that was missing a little bit with the Trizuka, and I love that they addressed this. It's a little bit of a nerf to Trizuka, but Trizuka is a fairly strong special. I don't think it's hurting too much for it. I think this just means that there's a little bit more counterplay to it now, which is great. Sound effect when an opponent is charging Booyah Bomb is now easier to hear. Also really, really cool. Booyah Bombs are a little bit inconspicuous in this game. Sometimes you just miss them. And making them a little bit easier to hear, I want to say they were probably a little bit easier to hear in Splatoon 2 than they are here. So it's nice that there are fewer like surprise booyahs where it's just like, oh, well, I guess 2 of us are dead now. So that's cool. Flight and impact sounds thrown by an opponent are now easy. Yeah, both good things, I think. Booyah Bomb's not going to be hurting, but now there's going to be a little bit more counterplay. So, cool stuff. X battles have been added. We knew about this. Calculated separately for each battle mode. Like, okay, cool. So it is based on each mode this time. So it's not just collective like series is. That's awesome. Players battle until reaching 3 wins or 3 losses. Oh, so it's different. Ooh, let's see. Reaching 3 wins or 3 losses, whereupon X power is gained or lost based on the results. Oh, okay. So it's just chunking them. It doesn't say exactly how that power is gained or lost. I really hope it's not going to work the way that series does. But hopefully, what I'm hoping is happening here is that all that is occurring is you play those matches until you get 3 wins or 3 losses, and then your Glico power is updating the whole time, and at the very end, it gives you, here's how it updated across all of those matches. And that way, I think it's healthy to make it so that it's more of a broad change. You see the average instead of having like one individual loss tilt you. It's like, if you lose once, sure, you can go and like bolster that by getting another win. It doesn't feel like it's over yet. It doesn't feel like you're down and out. So I do hope that it still stays on Glico, but this doesn't confirm that. It does work differently. So hopefully they do have a different approach than they had for series. We knew that it was going to be divided by region, which top-level players may not like this as much because they're not going to get as much practice against like Japanese players, but also I think this is better for the game overall in that there's going to be less lag involved in it. And top players are probably going to go out of their way to try and find Japanese scrims anyway. It's just it probably might let the metagames of the different regions develop a little bit more independently of each other, which can be good, can be something that insulates us as North America from ideas from other regions. So this will make it more exciting when the regions do actually come together in tournaments. I don't know. The metagame isn't really determined by what happens in solo queue that much, so this is probably just like a pretty good change for lag's sake. Might also indicate that the devs are feeling confident that the community has grown, because one of the big reasons to put everyone in the same matchmaking pool is to decrease queue times. And so if they feel confident in splitting things up by region, that might be something that shows that there are just more people playing the game and that the community has grown. And so we're able to split things up a little bit more now, which is a cool change. Division a player is affiliated with is determined the first time they play an X battle. Okay, fine. And then it can't be changed during the season. Okay. So you can't be like switching back and forth, but it's changeable each season. So you could, in theory, actually decide to just play in Takaroka Division for a season if you don't mind the lag and stuff. So that's an interesting decision. X battles will be available on November 30th at the same time as it begins. Okay, so November 30th is actually, so as soon as that date is in there, it's ready to play. Cool. Changes to ranked. Players can purposely reset their rank. Whoa, okay. Only once per season by players of rank B or higher. Okay, that makes sense, because, I mean, why would you want to reset it at C rank? You're going back to the same place. What rank a player is reset to is determined automatically by their estimated ability based on their battles up to that point. Whoa, okay, that's actually so huge. That's a massive improvement. A lot of people have been complaining that they've ranked up into a place where they are just immediately losing all of their matches, and they want a way to rank down. They want a way out. They want to be like, okay, no, uncle, I can't hang here. And this is it. This is it right here. It's only once per season. And, I mean, I think that's reasonable. You don't want people using this to smurf. But it's also where, like, if you get up a little bit too high and you just can't handle it anymore and you want to go back down to where it's healthy again, you can just hit the reset button. and it will be based on what your estimated ability based on their battles up to that point. That has to be the Glicko power. That has to be what that's referring to. Because, otherwise you're just measuring it against the rank you've currently got, which wouldn't make any sense. So I like this. I really like this. Players can use this feature by opening up the lobby menu, moving the cursors to Anarchy, and pressing the ZL button. Okay. Values of the initial cost and rank points spent have increased. Ooh, okay, so they're making it a little bit harder to advance here. They're making it so that you're less likely to advance. And honestly, I don't think that this is going to increase the difficulty that much for a lot of the people who are already climbing. But this will make it harder, I think, to get up out of certain ranks. And maybe that's a good thing so that you have to do this less. That is interesting too. So they're making series climbing harder, but they're also making it so that if you get stuck in a place that's too hard for you, you can call a mulligan. Okay. Salmon Run. Big Run has been added. While a big run is happening, Salmon Run will be held specifically on regular battle stages when it is ended. So is this just a thing that's going to happen randomly? Is this a thing that is not going to necessarily be during Splatfests? Because I don't think it's mentioned Splatfests or anything. So that's cool. And maybe we already knew that. I don't know. I'm not keeping as much track of Salmon Run as I am other things. So that might be information I just didn't have. When it's ended, different decorations will be awarded to players based on the results. This will be calculated based on highest number of golden eggs collected in a single work shift. Okay. So this is like a high score based thing that you'll get the decorations for. Feature to save and replay job scenarios. Nice. So we've got replays for Salmon Run now. That's huge for the Salmon Run community. Salmon Run's eating good here. Job scenario. Collected. Yep. Okay. Can reproduce the scenario and attempt it as many times as they like. Whoa, that's massive. That is so huge. You can just practice whatever random layouts you end up getting. Okay. So this isn't replays. This is, you just get to try it again. Oh, that's such a cool training tool. I misread that at first. Job scenarios can be shared with other players via the code, so you can just all practice the same thing together. You can just be like, all right, this is the world record scenario right here. We're going to practice the heck out of this and then try and get an IL under real circumstances. I feel like that's a thing that can happen now. When a new update is released, job scenarios... Yeah, okay, so this is like the replay system. Conditions for using the reset rank feature have been changed to being above Go-Getter 40. I don't remember where it was before, so I can't comment on what that change actually does. When a player with a rank higher than Executive VP uses the reset rank feature, they're not reset all at once to rank value 40. They will be reset in stages of 100 points at a time. Okay. So it's not dropping you all the way down. It's just ticking you down a little bit. The Stage Changes rank will be reset to Executive VP 40 as it has been before. Some boss salmonid abilities have been changed. So it changes Big Shot. So it moves slower, lowers the attack frequency, and it also lengthens the amount of time it spends walking on land, increasing the window for attack. So it's nerfing the Big Shot. The animation played as the shot comes flying in will be shown for longer than before, making it easier to determine where the shot was fired from. Okay, so they're just nerfing big shots across the board. And some special weapons. So Killer Whale has been approved. Tri-Strike guide devices will now trigger when touched by a salmonid. Oh, okay. So you'll throw the thing on the ground, and then if a salmonid bumps it, it'll just explode right away. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing for it. Maybe you wanted it to go off later. I'd have to play more to think about how that would feel. Player will no longer be a target for most salmonid attacks when returning to their position after the use period is ended. Oh, okay, so you're not going to get swarmed on your inkjet jump when you land back on it. That's probably good. And same thing for Booyah Bomb. Okay, so you're not just going to get ganked by a whole bunch of enemy salmonids right when you land from those specials that you're trying to use to get out of harm's way. Number that can appear at once has been capped at 15. I don't know what the original cap was. When feeding them at a regular pace, even at higher hazard levels, players will not reach this limit. This change was made because in cases where players are chased down by bosses they cannot splat, the appearance of too many bosses can slow the game down, make it more difficult than necessary to get things back under control. Okay. So maybe there wasn't a cap before, and now there is a cap. And they're thinking that this won't affect game balance that much. It'll just be like, you're not going to get chased around by as much. That might just make it easier, though, especially at high level. I don't know. We'll have to see. Splatfest Changes. This is also big. Tricolors have been modified so that tricolor battles have been modified so that all players can play on the attacking or defending team regardless of their halftime results. That's awesome. That's super cool. I love that. You can play however you want to play. It evens the playing field. Even if there was an advantage one way or another, that whole argument doesn't matter anymore because you can play whichever side you want to play. Players can join by themselves or in a pair with a friend. When playing by themselves, they will be paired with another solo player, same as before. Yeah, cool. That's awesome. I love that. Group of 8 will be created from the pairs. Yeah, and okay. Players do not know whether they will be on an attacking team or a defending team until the battle begins. Oh, so it's randomized. So this also levels the playing field because now if it's found that attacking is better, you can't just choose that you're on attacking side. You get randomly placed. This is awesome. I love this. This patch addresses a lot of issues. Not all of them, but definitely a good amount of the like quality of life things that we've been talking about. This is a really good patch. 50-50 chance of being attacking defending, regardless of affiliation. Perfect. Depending on population ratios for Splatfest teams. There may be tricolor battles where all 8 players are on the same Splatfest team. If that happens, clout will not be calculated. Otherwise, I assume it would be. Which makes sense, and that's the way that it's run for Splatfest already. I love that change. I think that's really good. It lets people play the game however they want to, and not have to worry about who wins to decide like what is going to allow them to play. Sure, they're not going to get to choose attacking or defending, but that's probably for the best for balance purposes. Clout earned in tricolor will now be calculated in the final results. Was it not? I thought it went into the Splatfest Open category. Or is this a separate category now? And the points awarded for each category have been adjusted. I think this means it's a separate category now. So it's now tricolor, open, and pro. And that makes it so that there are 3 skill-based categories and only 2 categories that are decided through other means. Because I think one is like the popularity vote, one is the number of conch shells per player vote, but then 3 of them are actually decided based on like winning games, which I think makes more sense. So that is a huge change. We're going to have to see how it goes in the next Splatfest, but I have a feeling that people are going to like this. I have a feeling this is going to improve the experience. Increase the victory bonus for the defending team. Oh, so they're actually buffing defense. They're recognizing that, hey, the points were a little bit skewed in favor of the attacking teams. And that makes sense, actually, because this was intended as a comeback mechanic. It was intended to give the attacking teams an advantage because they were the ones who were behind. And so now that we're making it so that anyone can be defending, you don't really need to change that. So that could be either of those 2 decisions, I think. It could be like any of those 2 rationales for that. When the team in first place at halftime is the defending team, and the attacking teams are for the second and third place, 1.5 more clout awarded for victory. Oh, okay. So, for a victory. So I think that still means that the defending team can get that 1.5 times more clout. So they're making it so that it matters more when the team in first place is the defending team. They're making this is still the experience that they wanted. They wanted the other 2 teams ganging up on the defending team, but they also recognize that people want to play it both ways. And so they're trying to compromise between keeping this as like the primary experience of the tricolor turf war, but they're allowing for alternative ways to play it. So that's an interesting compromise. And that will definitely change the numerical models if we decide to keep making more of those. I don't know. Those videos are doing okay. We might keep doing that. Anyway, more math, more math. That's exactly what we wanted on this channel. When you win a 10x, 100x, or 333x battle, will be shown at your pledge box. Neat. After winning one, you can board your team's float to take commemorative pictures. This is something that a lot of people like about the way that the Splatfests worked in Splatoon 2, and it's cool that that is back. Nice. Okay. There's more. Changes to lockers. T-shirt gear items can now be folded for storage by play. Ooh, okay. Neat. So they can be like stacked on top of stuff. Pressing B to cancel a placement, the locker will now return to the immediately previous state before you grabbed anything. Okay, this is actually something that bugged the crap out of me before, and I'm glad that they're fixing it. Right now, when you press B, it just cancels out of the whole locker redesigning thing. And instead, like a lot of the time, you just want to not have selected that thing. So that's a good change too. Lots of good quality of life stuff. Like these are actually things that bug people that are being addressed, and I like that. Players can now enter photo mode from recon mode. Can use photo mode not only by themselves, but also when entering recon mode. Cool. So, drip picks. We've got new drip pick tech. We don't need to use the screenshot feature. There are photos built into the game. Neat. I don't know if we can post them directly to Twitter, because that's really the only point of those things, so maybe we don't need them. But maybe it gives you new camera options. That'd be neat. When walking a stage in Recon by oneself, player can call an amiibo to take pictures with. Huh. Okay. So you can, like, take selfies with someone and pretend you have friends. That's cool. Added a feature to temporarily use a different player name than usual when playing private battles. One example, to be able to add a team name into one's player name only in private battles. Okay. All right, that makes sense. So, like, if you're going from one tournament to another, you can just change them in private battles without having to, like, close the game and reopen it again. That's awesome. Yeah, that's actually something that just directly benefits the competitive community. That's, like, the team name. This is exactly what this is going to get used for in the competitive community. Like, they've got their finger on the pulse a little bit better with what's needed right now. When creating or joining a group for a private battle, you can temporarily set a different name by pressing the L button. Okay. Please make it so that you can accept friend requests without having to close the private battle lobby if you're the host. Because that is an obnoxious thing right now. Right now, the way that you really want to do it if you're in a tournament is the host makes the lobby and then somebody else accepts friend requests from the other team. So you need like a captain and a co-captain or something running this whole operation. Because otherwise, if the host makes the lobby but then also adds people, they have to like unmake the lobby and remake the lobby for every friend request they add. So fingers crossed. Song title and artist of the background music will now be shown at the beginning of battle. Oh, that's sick. That's sick. That's just like a nice little nod to how these things are displayed like on TV. And it'll also be like, what song is that? I don't know the name of that song, and now we'll know it. And now we'll be able to look it up on YouTube and stuff. In the equip screen, when a player has a lot of weapons or gear, it will now be clear what page of items is being shown. Which page? Oh, so it's like page 1 of 2. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. So like, and that's also a huge quality of life thing that I haven't even thought of wanting. But like, something I've noticed if I have like a bunch of gear and I'm trying to scroll through to find the thing I want is I'm like, wait, where's the first page again? Am I back at the first page? It'll say like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this will say 1 of 5, 2 of 5, 3 of 5, 4 of 5. That's what I am imagining this means. And that is awesome. I love that. It's super easy thing to add, but helps a lot with organizing and managing this, especially in situations in a tournament where you have 10 seconds to completely change an outfit up, and you got to do that fast. So that's really, really neat. When sorting by gear ability, abilities that do not exist on the items being sorted will no longer appear as sorting options. Oh, okay. So like if you have a piece of gear that doesn't have quick respawn and you're sorting by ability, you won't see quick respawn. So yeah, like here, I've got this pulled up. So like, obviously you can't have Ninja Squid on a hat And so it just gets rid of Ninja Squid on this menu. You can't have Hot on a hat, Thermal Ink, Respawn Punisher. Like, all of these things do not exist on hats. And so it's pointless to actually show them on this lineup and crowd the menu with that. So, nice little thing here. You know, nothing huge, but it's super nice that they're thinking about those kinds of things. Added a feature for listening again to Sheldon's weapon explanations. Oh, so they don't just go away. If anybody ever actually does want to listen to them, they're not great advice. I would listen to me instead, just saying. But if you ever want to listen to that again, you can. And it's a way that also, like, a content creator could get that footage for use in videos or something like that, which I personally appreciate, even if I'm not necessarily going to be listening to this too much. Added a badge related to use of the shell-out machine. A previous usage is counted towards badge progress. Okay. So if you're a compulsive gambler, no. If you use the shell-out machine a lot, you can start working toward a badge. Cool. And that's just a way to flex that you have gotten so much money that you do not know what to do with that money. Update focuses on adding data, adjustments, battle. Okay, for battles besides an adjustment. Is this just a summary? Okay, this is commentary, I think, from Nintendo on this. So they're directly addressing Tentamissile spam. Increasing some weapons' ease of use, so Tri-Stringer and Splatana Wiper. They're recognizing that those are not the easiest weapons, and so I imagine at lower levels of play, the painting buffs are going to have a huge impact, while probably not having too much of an impact at high level, but we'll have to see. Nerfed Big Shot, improved some special weapons, all these things we already read. Our next update is planned for the middle of chill season. Okay, so this is a month and a half from this update, unless there are hot fixes that need to go out immediately. And should focus on balance adjustments upon analysis of data from the newly added weapons. Makes sense. They're going to let everybody play with the new weapons and stuff and let the new meta develop for a month and a half. And then they'll go back in and be like, all right, so what did we break this time? All right. Fixes to player controls. Standing on the edge of a sponge of the opponent's color and jumped would let the opponent do a jump at the same height as regular ground. Oh, yeah, that'll let you get up into places you're not supposed to be in. That's a good thing. Fixed an issue where a player being involuntarily moved by a splash wall or a Salmonid's attack. One of the things I'm looking for here, actually, is whether a splash wall actually stops machine shots now. Cause them to not be shown in the proper position on another player's screen. Going into swim form on thin floors allow some attacks to damage them from the opposite side. They're fixing the machine. They're fixing the machine. They're fixing the machine. They're fixing the machine. The machine can't hit you from underneath the glass on undertow anymore. It's about time. Oh, goodness. Fixed an issue or swimming on a wall, quickly doing a squid surge would allow the player to jump higher than intended when wearing gear with a lot of intensify action. Huh. I didn't know about that. Doing a super jump onto a sponge would cause the player to land in midair. That's funny. Shooters, blasters, dualies, and crab tank CR buttons were aiming above or below horizontal when firing would cause the shot's left-right scatter to be less than intended. Huh. Interesting. So these were actually more accurate if you were aiming differently than horizontal. Huh. Fixed an issue where a player with a roller would not be bounced backward when their roller's ground rolling attack hit but did not splat an opponent. Oh yeah, I think I've seen this happening. I think I've seen like a lot of I've been in a lot of positions where I got confused because it looked like something should have splatted me, but the roller also didn't like bounce off me. So I wasn't sure like, wait, should I have gotten hit? Did I get hit? So maybe this is what was happening then. Fixed an issue where the sound effect of a player using those things could be triggered twice on other players' screens. Okay. Sound effect of a dually dodge roll could be triggered twice. Okay, same deal. Where a blob with a blob lobber, we're lobbing blobs. See, it's a blob lobber. It lobs blobs. It's in there in the official text, guys. That's how it's pronounced. That's what it. Just figure out how to say that weapon, guys. It's not that hard. Where lobbing blobs while touching certain terrain or while inputting certain controls could cause some of the blobs to not be lobbed correctly. So it's not being very clear about what that was. Fixed an issue where performing a dually dodge roll immediately after landing from super jump could result in the roll trajectory looking different than that of the actual roll. Okay. I haven't done enough jumps into enemy ink with the Tetra dualies to know what that's about. Fixed an issue where using a sub weapon after using a squid roll from a wall or a squid surge while having umbrella equipped will cause the umbrella to be shown in an unnatural position. That's funny. Fixed an issue when firing a stringer when in close contact with a metal grate, where the stringer shots would be obstructed by the grate. Cool. Horizontal slashes, where there was a difference in the vertical position and the collision detection between the center and the edges, and they did not align with the visual appearance. Vertical position. Splatana's horizontal slashes. Vertical position of the collision detection between the center and the edges. And they did not align with the visual appearance. Okay. So it's making it so that the aim of this thing is more consistent. I don't know exactly what they're referring to there, but it's time for me to feed my cat. I will be right back. Okay, fix an issue where pressing the ZL button while preparing a charge slash, then releasing it. Oh, okay, I didn't know about that. Player reacted to Zipcaster while holding the R button and then immediately releasing it would result in a sub-weapon being used despite it being in use. Interesting. And also making the time on its use shorter. Oh, yeah, that would suck. Fixed an issue where the reef slider's explosion animation would not be triggered on a player's screen. Oops. Where attacking the starting point of an ink rail with the Ultra Stamp would cause the game to slow down. Okay. When splatted while trying to charge the Rainmaker, the next time the player picks up the Rainmaker, it would fire a shot regardless. That's funny. Fixes the multiplayer. Using the directional buttons to pick a teammate. A target teammate would switch if even just a slight diagonal was input. Okay. Hitting the edge of a splash wall or umbrella shield with a blaster shot would deal damage to a player on the other side. Slight fixes to these things. That's not the only problem with umbrella shield right now. Fixed an issue where holding the ZR button to roll ink along the ground. With a roller would deal damage to a player behind umbrella shield. Are they fixing the umbrella shield? Breaking opponent's umbrella shield while inking the ground. The player would not be dropped back. There are definitely a couple of fixes to this. Like, these are both problems with umbrellas. These aren't the only problems with umbrellas because it's sloshing machine shots specifically. Yep. I think they might be fixing the umbrella shield. Umbrella shield might actually work, guys. We have to re-examine umbrellas after this patch drops. Breaking an opponent's umbrella shield while inking the ground with ZR button. With a brush or roller. We already read that one. I'm dumb. Fix an issue where the opponent's bomb touching umbrella shield at the same moment the umbrella closed would not cause the umbrella to not take damage. Oh, so this was a thing that I think they actually discovered in Splatoon 2. That you could, like, one frame block a bomb and just take no damage from it. Honestly, I say leave it in. It's like a frame perfect input. Let the umbrella make its really cool frame perfect input and just avoid damage, right? Like, it's not like it's overwhelming in the meta right now. Just let it happen. Just leave it in there. That's fine. That's not a problem. Fixed an issue where the Splatana's melee. Make it a feature. Like, give it a visual effect. That's what I want to see. Anyway, melee attacks could deal damage to an opponent on the other side of thin terrain, so probably maybe impacts umbrella shield as well. Placing a splash wall at certain locations could cause it to move to a slightly different position, float above, or disappear. Okay. Thrown splash wall or wave breaker would disappear if it touched a crab tank before being set up. Oh, so it's supposed to bounce off those. Okay. Big Bubbler's drone device being touched by a wave breaker's wave would cause an animation looking like the drone was taking damage despite not actually taking damage. Okay. Adjusted the color of the attack area indicator to fix an issue where certain ink color combinations made it easy to be mistaken for the enemy team's color. Yeah, I've seen this. I've seen this where it was like, wait, that's the wrong color. That's the opposite color of the player who's using it. And there were times where I needed to be worried about it. So yeah, that makes a lot of sense. 10 missiles passing within inches of terrain before impact would cause the impact predictor's position to be shown in a different position. Ooh, yeah, that's good to fix. Sending Booyah where pressing the button quickly could exceed the intended limit and charge the bomb rapidly. Ooh, okay. So you were able to just like spam press it and get more charges out than you're supposed to be capped at. Fixed an issue where charging a booyah bomb, which where power would charge the instant an ally pressed booyah. Made it so power is charged when the light animation is... Wow. That's crazy. Thrown stamp would disappear if touched by an opponent's booyah bomb blast wave. Okay. Ultra Stamp's collision detection would remain on the spot for a short while after the effect had ended. Okay. Fixed an issue where the determination for #1 Splat Zone anchor. This, we talked about this, was not being done correctly, resulting in a word being shown as though it had been attained despite the player not actually being #1. This totally happened to me. I commented this on a video. Where someone painted literally double as much as I had, and I got this displayed anyway. Okay, so that was a thing they noticed and they fixed. Cool. An enemy splash wall on top of the checkpoint. Rainmaker wouldn't be placed on the checkpoint even though the animation was played. Ooh. Yeah, that would have been bad. I wish I had thought about that. Fixed an issue in Rainmaker where a player could earn the record score setter award even in cases where they headed for the opponent's goal without the checkpoint having been Okay, yeah. Hey guys, we're on the podium. We haven't broken first check yet. Oh, whoops. That's funny. In overtime, a checkpoint breakthrough and taking the lead happens at the same time, where if the player holding the Rainmaker is splatted by an opponent at the same instant they take the lead, match would continue instead of end. Ooh. I don't even know what happens there. Fixed an issue in the Rainmaker mode where if a teammate picked up the Rainmaker immediately after throwing a tactical or Rainmaker icon would be shown in the tacticaler's position. Oops. We're stealthing it. Fixed an issue in Eel Tail where don't retreat would be shown at a shorter distance than intended. Oh, okay. I think I've seen this error happen where somebody just accidentally got hit by don't retreat and exploded in 20 seconds when they were like, wait, I wasn't retreating. Where did I go? So that's good. That's important. That's a balance fix. Eel Tail in general, where the underside of certain terrain could be inked to fill the special gauge. I didn't know about that. That's funny. Certain walls, when inked by a bomb's explosion, would be inked in locations that differed from the explosion. Okay. Player standing on glass could be damaged from the other side. Okay, so this is even a different change than they talked about before. Undertow, don't retreat, shown at shorter distance than intended. Good fix. Mincemeat Metalworks, same issue. Hagglefish, same issue. Clam placements at the start of the battle were not symmetrical. Wow, that's good to fix. Parts of players could clip into certain terrain. Is that like are they trying to fix a zipcaster thing? I don't know. Don't retreat warning again. Inking on top of the central spinning floor would cause points to increase by double? On splat zones? Or on turf war, probably. Okay. I think that's what it is. Fixed an issue in museum. Doing a squid surge certain heights would cause the count to go up as though you had climbed that distance despite not actually having been able to climb it. Huh. Alright. Tentamissile's impact area predictor indicators would disappear when the water level changed. Ooh, yeah, that's important. Players on top of certain platforms could be damaged from the other side. Huh, okay. Walls at certain locations had a few parts that could not be inked. Okay. Don't retreat issue. Isn't this the same thing that they just... Oh, Mako Martin, Mahi Mahi. I'm seeing the MA and just assuming MA, Mahi Mahi, Mahi Mahi. No, those are okay. Could jump to the boards outside the stage. This... I think this was accessible by Zipcaster? Or was this the thing where, like, Chara is in his videos spawn camping people on, like, the glass and stuff? It's one of those two things. Certain location near the starting point would not allow players to swim even if it looked like it had been inked. Huh. Top of a certain pillar was treated as being outside the stage. Using Booyah Bomb in a certain place could cause players to be pushed into certain terrain. Jumping towards could result in progress being counted as though a player does not... Okay. And then Salmon Run. Golden Egg was not displayed when they were in swim form. Looked to other players as though a player had a different weapon equipped than they actually did. Immediately before the extra wave begins, players could use their special abilities left over from wave 3. Ooh. Players Player would join later, press ready. Player that made the room would leave it. Whoops. Was not being properly displayed in certain languages. Okay. Bug fix for that. Big bug fix for that. Communications error would occur when hitting a scrapper or gusher with multiple shots at the same time from a reverse stringer. Okay, so a very specific thing was causing a comm error. Hopefully that doesn't happen with other weapons and they just missed it. Explosions from reef slider, splat bombs could not deal damage to those things. Yeah, that's good to fix. Using the inkjet right before the water rises would result in returning to a point beneath the water. Oops. Player with a golden egg goes into swim form. The egg they have will show while using the inkjet. Prevent snatchers from entering into terrain after collecting golden eggs. Okay, so they're not going to clip out. Bomb will be thrown despite the steelhead speed. Okay. When a steelhead threw its bomb, player in a location that a bomb was previously thrown to would be pushed out. Okay. These look like mostly like bug fixes, and I'm sure they'll be really helpful in Salmon Run, but I'm not super concerned about these. These look like mostly like very rare circumstances that the QA team found. Steel eels target differently. Players could damage a drizzler while it was covered by its umbrella. Aw, darn. We don't get to do that. Oh, I think I've seen this, actually. The egg was just, like, floating in the air randomly. There's my cat. He's in my lap now. Clipping less frequently with grillers. Extreme number of eggs, or be unable to obtain eggs when damaged in the Goldie. Okay. You could slow down, slimming on certain walls. Splat bomb at a certain location, it would remain there without exploding for a long while. So maybe it's just considered falling still. Cannot stand on top of the switchboards installed in the walls. Story mode. Oh, so the speedrunners actually care a lot about this. Players would come through terrain and get a loss. Okay. Enemies would not appear if player took a certain route. It's fine. Player would clip through the terrain in rare cases, get a loss. Prevent the game from crashing while play on stages. Okay, so those aren't actually going to change speedrun jumps. They're just going to prevent you from like randomly dying sometimes. Color lock option in color combination would not turn to yellow and blue. Okay, that's important. Game would crash at the end of a Splatfest battle. Oh, right when tricolor is going out there. Okay. Changes to Splatfest power immediately after starting a Splatfest battle would be too small. Oh, interesting. Product lineup would change when the player's catalog level went up and the player received the reward. Opening your friends list, immediately switching to the shoal. The rooms created by nearby players would not be shown. Trying to place a decoration against the inner wall of the locker would be judged as being outside the locker and its placement deleted. So locker decoration issues. Even if the item was different. Oh, interesting. Okay. That's nice. Leaving gear ordered unpurchased and trying a different item the next day. Order list would be the same as it was before. Ooh, yeah. Issue with battling while using the primary gear abilities only option. Could appear on the results screen as though secondary abilities have been active. Battle replays on specifically Mahi Mahi. Inking of the ground would not be reproduced correctly. Some languages, options were not in alphabetical order. Whoops. Allowed players to have more gear chunks than the intended max. And more card bits than the intended max. All right. I like this patch. And I think, despite the fact that, you know, we've had these problems for a long time, and it's taken a long time for them to get to some of these things, it's good that they're addressing them now. Better late than never. And also, it feels good to get them all at once, to just suddenly have a much better game. So I hope that this is a reasonable balance of work for them. And there are a lot of things I'm excited about here. I still think Crab Tank probably needed to be nerfed, but Tentamissiles are nerfed, which is enormous. Tricolor has huge changes. X battles are going to be in the game. Fingers crossed that those work in a reasonable way. I've got a few changes to specials that could have an impact here. We'll have to see. I think Tentamissiles is the biggest one by far, but Zipcaster looks really promising. That one's really exciting. And all of the new weapons are going to be really exciting too. So this is going to be a banger of a patch, and the Splatoon community is going to be really happy, I think, for having this out and ready to play with. So thank you all for watching. Let me know what you guys are thinking about this, because I'm always interested to hear what other people are saying about it. Check out my links in the description, all that usual YouTube stuff. I do this full time. I need money to do that, and YouTube gives me some money, but Patreon and Medify help with that. Also, I have a TikTok and a Twitter and a Discord server and yada, yada, yada. You can see the links. So thank you, everybody, for watching, and we'll see you next time.